So let's look at online versus in-person Kundalini activations. And so let's begin with just Kundalini activations and what are they, what is happening, and from there we can begin to see what is the difference with online and in person, because there are some differences, but the actual activation and the sequencing of it, the flow, the language to get started with, all of that is essentially the same whether you're online or in person. So a Kundalini activation is about an hour long, and it begins with a language piece. And so this piece is like a hypnotherapy almost introduction, where what I do is guide my participants into the activation state. So it's guiding them into relaxing, lying down on your mat. So if you're at home, if you're in person, wherever you are, lying down, being comfortable, taking some deep breaths where you are. And here we can bring in some imagery. We can appeal to each of the senses. You can say, okay, you're outside under the olive trees, for instance, and say, okay, you are so supported by the earth beneath you. You can hear the wind and feel the wind and the gentle breeze and the sun on your skin, and you begin to feel so relaxed, and this relaxation just flows like this golden light shining through your body, through your head, into your neck, down to your chest, to your arms, out to each one of your fingers, to your chest and your body, and you're breathing in all of this warmth and relaxation, and this flows and flows and flows. And so something like that, where it is a language piece that initiates the activation experience. And so during this, you are just lying there with your hands out and you're just relaxing. And it's like Shavasana in yoga, the yoga class. And you're also listening to this language piece, which is a bit like hypnotherapy. And from there, we welcome in the music piece. So the music begins, and I'm no longer speaking in English. I am open to light language as it comes throughout the activation, but the music playlist is something that I have created ahead of time, and this is carefully designed so that it begins in a delta state and it goes up into theta, beta, gamma. It goes into these different states as waves. You're like, what is this? What are all these? Don't worry, you don't need to know those things. But essentially, the music begins low and relaxing, steady. It's music typically without lyrics. Once in a while, we'll throw something in with lyrics. And so it starts low, relaxing. It goes up in waves. It'd be like a wave here. We'll go up a little bit more. And then usually a third wave. And then come up to bring you out of essentially that trance-like state at the end, bringing back in that language piece. And so what this does is this is how we access the subconscious. And so within that, we are entering into that hypnotic state where we're open to, in a hypnosis, hypnotherapy, open to suggestion, to guidance. Within Kundalini work, it's a bit different because there's no specific guidance. You are your own guidance. And this is where truth is my identity becomes that Kundalini work, because it is going into yourself without anyone necessarily guiding you where to go. And this is also where, like I mentioned in my last video, that unrepressed repressed trauma can come up. Different experiences can come up because we don't know what we're opening up exactly. But we do know that we are in control the entire time. The person receiving, the participant, is in control of their body, their mind the entire time. If you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to get up, I want to stop, like, you can totally do that. You usually don't, because then you're disrupting the session. But you totally can if you need to. Or if you need to just like get up and go to the bathroom, like, you can do that. You can come back in. All those recommended to just go straight through the entire session. But the point here is that you are in control the entire time of what you experience. And how much you experience and how much you open up is entirely dependent on how much you're willing to. And this is where some people want to experience like these intense movements, like I want to have like shaking, like convulsions, and then they're like, but nothing happened, I didn't feel anything, what's going on? Well, a big part of this work is surrendering to that not knowing what you're opening up to. And this is really hard for a lot of people because it's not a linear path. It's not like, okay, I do this, I do this, I do this, this happens. It is, okay, I trust myself. I trust that I'm going to feel what I'm meant to feel today. I'm going to experience what I'm meant to experience today. If that means a lot of body movements, if that means like yoga, asana, poses, okay. If that means I'm going to just lie here the whole time and just be like in my body and just lie here and relax, that's also okay. And it's usually when we give ourselves that permission to just relax, like I'm okay with whatever I'm meant to experience today, that's when we really experience the energy and the shifts, because we're no longer putting that pressure on it, right? It's like trying too hard at anything. They're like, I'm trying to do this thing, I'm trying, it's just not working, I'm trying to solve this. Sometimes with the math problems, but math problems, but I'm trying to solve this math problem, like, I just can't figure it out. Oh. And then you like give it a break, you're like, okay, whatever. You go back to it with a fresh set of eyes, fresh mind, you're like, oh wait, it's just that. So as soon as we go into it, we're just like, okay, I'm ready. I'm okay if it takes a while. I'm okay if it happens right now. I'm ready. That's when it happens. And it's gradual, usually. And if it's not gradual, it's because it has been gradual already. So for people who have done a lot of energetic work or yoga or like just other practices that are similar, their opening can be faster. But it's only because they've done the work already. For someone who hasn't been doing any type of spiritual practice or like yoga or exercise or anything, it can take a while longer because you have to open up to that level. But ultimately, like, you know, we're all on our own timelines, and where you are is exactly where you're meant to be. So with that, that piece of understanding activations, this happens the same, online, in person, it makes no difference. Because you're listening to music, you are listening to my voice, and those are the same either way. Now, at the end of the session, you are guided back. Hello, welcome back. Begin to bring some gentle movement into your fingers, into your toes. At your own time, you can bring in some breath, slowly breathing back into your body, rolling over onto your side. Sit back up when you're ready, taking your time. Okay, come back and let's check in. How are you feeling? Is there anything you'd like to share? Okay, so this is the end of our session. This is the format online, in person. It's the same. And so the difference online is, of course, that you're looking at a screen. You're really not even looking at the screen. You're like signing onto the screen, and then you're lying down in your own space. And then it's not that different because you're just lying there with your eyes closed. So you're experiencing everything internally. And that part's not that different. It's not really, it's different because of where you are. So I have my space in my house that's set up for my activations, and that is my like activation zone, and I'm really comfortable there. And I've had some really powerful activations there because it's like it's set up to be my space, and it's so special. And that's like an advantage of doing these activations online, is being able to have your own space to go into and like cozy and like not have to interact with other people as much. Like if you're a bit of an introvert like me, and sometimes you just want to like hole up and just be like, okay, I want to be with my own space. I want to have some interaction with other people, but I want to be in my own space. It's really cool for that. I want to be able to express. I want to be able to like cry or laugh or like like emotional releases, and not have to worry about interacting with other people in the room. And so, but with an online activation, you have that advantage that it's all in your own space. And for the energy work, the energy is essentially that space being held. It's that hour that your activation is held in. It's me holding that time, that space for you. And also at that time I am channeling Kundalini energy. I'm channeling this energy force. I'm opening up, and I am creating this environment, this vibration of however I feel that I want to channel that day. And it's an atmosphere. And the atmosphere can be created virtually as well. When you create it virtually, it's more of a co-creation. It's always a co-creation, but it's more of a co-creation like virtually, because you create your own space within your house or wherever you are. And then I come in and I'm like in a different space physically, but we connect virtually. And so it's really cool to see how that works. And then in person, and sometimes I do my activations out here in the garden, and those are different because now the atmosphere is entirely created by me. I set the space. I set it all up, all the physical pieces. Like, it is like my creation for you. And then as you come in, it begins to co-create. And even like as I'm thinking about the people who are coming in, like I consider them as I'm building my playlist. So that's also part of the co-creation, is when I know who's coming in. It's like, okay, how do I want to sequence my music, or like what music do I want to have? That's another co-creation piece. That's the same online or in person. But then for the in person, so I create the space and I bring in the element of physical touch. That's the biggest difference, is that when I have people here, I will open the space exactly the same way as I described, and then as the activation starts and throughout it, I will open myself up to physical touch as it feels appropriate and welcome. And so what that looks like is like a very common one for me is like placing my hands on people's feet, because it's really like a good way to ease into it, because they're like, oh, you're gonna touch me? Like, yeah, just like on your feet, and then like it's wherever I feel. And it's always so fascinating because at the end they're like, man, I was feeling something here, and then like you place your hand there and it was like, whoa, that was exactly what I was feeling. And then it like just felt like such synchronicity. And that's that oneness piece, that synchronicity that exists online as well, because people at the end, they'll say like, man, I was like having this experience and I was really feeling like I was thinking about my feelings right now about my family, and someone else will be like, man, I was also thinking about my family. And like, so there's that connection, and that exists throughout any activation. In person, it has that physical piece, and we're physically closer, so you can feel each other's energy more, and that is a strengthening piece with that energy work. And so I might go around and place my hands on your feet or shoulders, sometimes the head. If I'm feeling really comfortable with someone, like sometimes like fingers, like 2 fingers on the sternum here, sometimes on the solar plexus, and it really depends on how many times I've worked with that person, like, and how much I know them, how comfortable I am with them. For new people, I'll usually just start like with feet, maybe the legs, the calves, the shoulders, head, maybe the torso, and then if I'm more comfortable, maybe the shoulders, maybe the hips, maybe the I guess this is a little more personal, and then because sometimes to reach some of those areas, like, you got to be close, but it's always like, okay, I feel like this is someone who I've done a lot of activations with, and they're like accustomed to this work and they know what to expect. I'm not just gonna go up and be like, hello, but so it's very gentle, and it's always like that feeling piece of, okay, this person needs a little bit more time to warm up. I'm gonna place my hands on their feet and say, hey, I'm here, I'm here, and you can open up at your own time. Sometimes I've been guided to like place my hand on someone's hand, or even like hold their hand, like, hey, I feel you, I see you, you're here, like whatever you feel is exactly what you're meant to feel. And like sometimes I'll work between 2 people, and that's kind of cool because it's not always touching, like it's energy work, like language transmissions as well. Sometimes it's hand movements, gestures, sometimes it's verbal, and for me that comes out as singing. Sometimes it's like I'll have a song and I'll just be like, ah, ah, and you never know what's going to come out, but it's always, the intention is always that positive vibration, and as long as I hold that, it's always in alignment with that, and it's always in alignment with, you are safe, you are seen, you are heard, you can be yourself here, you can express here, and you're only going to receive as much as you are prepared to hold today. And I'm here for you, but I'm also here to give you your space when you need your space as well. And that's a really important component, especially with the in-person. It's like, okay, I'm here, my hands somewhere, shoulders, I'm here, but also here, you need your space right now. I respect that. And then I'll go work with someone else. If it's a group activation, one-to-one's a little different because you have like my undivided attention. Online as well, it's like, okay, oh, that area, that here, I feel energy moving into your leg or into your toe. Oh, okay, let's focus there. Oh, okay. So like I see it all for one-to-one, and it's just a completely different, like intense experience, and it's really cool. And the groups, they're a different dynamic. They are the energy piece that I bring in, and then also that co-creation within the people who are there as well. And it's always just so fascinating to see how different people come in and they share a little bit of like what they're feeling that day, and what they would like to, flow into, if they have any intentions that day. And it's just like, it's like a little party. It's like, especially out here when I set it up, it's like a slumber party. It's like, oh, we're gonna get cozy and like hang out, and it's really cool. And online it's like that too, but it's like, ooh, each have our own space. It's like, ooh, it's like more of it's like more of an introvert party, I guess, which is just cool, because you're like, this is my space, my zone, and then you come to see another person, they're like, okay, this is my space, my zone, and another. So in some ways that's like, you're bringing more of your individuality into that piece, because like, okay, I'm in my space, but still having that co-creation space as well. So they're both cool. The online are, so my online, I have those, and those are at a lower rate than in person. In person is more work because I have to set up the space physically. Online, I turn it on and go. And In person, I'm limited to like how many people I can have in the space, and yeah, it's just more involved in person. And then online, you guys can come in and from all over the world too. So that's one of the cool things, is like you can reach so many more people, and like so many different people, because in person, this isn't even like on the blog post, so this is another piece. I'm like, oh wait, right now. So in person, for the most part, it's like your local community, unless you're doing a retreat, something where you travel. But online, it's like people coming from all over. So it's really interesting, because it's like, okay, we're coming from different sides of the world, we're coming from just all over the place, and coming all together in one space, different time zones, and different, like, all these different pieces. So it's really just unique. And then in person, you have this like local community or retreat in which, you know, people are going, and they're all meeting there at that same space, and it's like it's just a different experience, you know. It's not that either one is like more or less than the other. They're different components, different experiences. Sometimes I'm more into in-person, sometimes I'm more into online. It just shifts depending on if I want to be going out, or if I want to be having people over, like if I feel, you know, good in my space, or if I'm like in a mood where, okay, I want to be in my own space, I want to work with people, but I want to do it on the screen because that just feels better for me right now. And it's it's just it's different preference. And one last piece, online. So cool thing online with signing on is that when you sign on, it is faster. So as I mentioned, online from my part, setup and all of that, more online as well for you. A little bit of maybe setup, but not really. You can just lie in your bed, or like roll out a yoga mat or blanket or something on the floor and be set up. And then online, you just turn it on, turn it off, and that's it. So you don't have to drive anywhere, which is cool, because if you're anything like me, then you don't like driving all over, and it's like, man, I want to go do this thing, but I don't want to drive, and it just like doesn't use up as much time. So it's very focused, like, oh, I'm going to go into this thing, I'm going to go in, and then I can go do other things afterwards. And yeah, I think that about sums it up. So online, in person, Kundalini activations, what's the difference? I hope that answers some of your questions, and if you would like to do an activation with me, you can check out my website down below on the blog, wherever. If you're on my website, the little button or whatever's up there at the time you're watching this video, and or Instagram, you can always send me a DM, and that is it. I will see you guys back here next time.